What's the one part of your hobby that you hate doing? I write, record, and produce music. Social media is killer. I actually do social media management as part of my day job, so I know the ins and outs of what it takes to be successful, but my god do I hate playing the game. I already hate self-promotion as a fairly reserved person, so to have to constantly say hey, look at this / look what I made kills me. Music is what I want to do for a living though, so that keeps me motivated. Because I'm writing, recording, producing everything on my own plus doing all the graphic design, video work, marketing, etc. It's hard not to get burnt out constantly though. Knitting is my hobby, but I hate projects that require multiple pieces to stitch together. Like knitting a hat, and then knitting a bow, and stitching the bow onto the hat. Knitting the bigger piece is exciting at first, but exhausting as you go along. Then to knit the smaller parts, and sew them on. Ugh, forget it. To circumvent this, I've started knitting the accessories of a project first, then knitting the large part of the project second. I still hate putting it together but less. With the huge boom of streaming, I've wanted to get into content creation, but I've gone over the math so many times. With a 40-hour work week, unless I do nothing else but work, play and sleep, there's no way for me to join in, and I'm not comfortable becoming a burden on my girlfriend by foregoing household tasks and losing the time I spend with her. I feel that as an adult, there really is no place for me in the hobby, unless I've already become successful in a way to support myself through it to the point that it is my job and I don't need any other source of income. I play games. I love it. I hate it. I hate the growing trend of timed events and hunt passes. I have little time to enjoy and pursue my hobby, and knowing that the 1 or 2 hours I might get to play, especially in games that rely on lobbies and teams, may not actually provide me with any enjoyment or relaxation makes the whole thing seem pointless. This week alone I've been unable to participate in 4 tournaments and events, since everything is aimed at students who are available from 10 AM to 4 PM on weekdays with school out. Since I work from home I can't participate in a lot of the actual social aspects of gaming, having to schedule to very specific times, only to wait around for people and maybe spend 10 minutes of a 2-hour window actually playing the game. The warm up before playing basketball. I always feel like a complete dickhead when doing stretches, but they say you must, so I do. I also play a lot of chess and I absolutely hate the online community. You just can't play a longer game online. It's rife with poor sportsmanship. You have to settle for blitz/bullet, but these are my least favorite time controls. Finally, I'm a data hoarder. I keep movies, series, porn, music, video games, etc. that I watched and enjoyed. I absolutely hate running out of space, and also hate losing track of where I've saved what. I suck at organizing. Bicycle touring is an incredibly difficult hobby. Yes, there were days where my legs were exhausted after pedaling 80 pounds of bike and camping gear up steep mountain roads, but more often it was a mental challenge as opposed to a physical one. On those days, it was tempting to start sticking my thumb out when I heard cars approaching behind me. It was tempting to hitchhike to the airport, train station, or bus stop and buy a ticket home, sell my touring bike, and put that money towards a fancy new road bike for day rides around town. But instead, I would just put my head down, maybe put on some motivational music, and grind through the shit. I'd remind myself that there is indeed a summit to even the tallest of mountains, and a glorious descent awaited me on the other side. Eventually, the rain clouds would break up, the sun would return, and my wet clothes would dry out. The worst gravel roads will always guide you back to pavement if you follow them far enough, and yes, even the headwind will eventually fade away, or perhaps even shift into the mythical tailwind. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next day, but hopefully by the day after that, things would take a turn for the better, and suddenly, I'd be having yet another best day of my life, and I'd forget all about the miserable yesterday that made me want to quit bicycle touring for good. And when it's all over, when I finally come back home after 7 months of rain, up hills, and headwinds, I'll find myself missing life on the road despite and in a weird way, because of those really difficult days. My hobby is bicycle touring. I like to load some camping gear onto the back of my bicycle and disappear for a while. Sometimes it's to a state park a day's ride from my home. Other times I've spent almost 7 months riding 5,300 miles around much of the US. There are many days that make me question why I ever thought biking across the whole country would be a good idea. There were weeks where I couldn't see some beautiful parts of the country as I rode through heavy fog during the day, followed by rainy nights in a leaking tent for a week straight. There were times where I was climbing the same damn mountain for 3 days straight, and the summit was still nowhere to be seen. There were days spent pushing the bike up 10 miles of very steep mud roads, not dirt roads, but mud, because winter came early and the snow melt softened the dirt. And there were oh so many headwinds, sometimes so loud I could hardly hear myself think over them. What I hate even more is when there's just enough wind to make me think it's worth putting up the sails. Then as soon as I get them up, the wind dies. I fiddle with them for a while trying to catch enough wind to make progress. Then as soon as I give up and get the sails down, the wind picks back up just enough to make me think I could sail again. Repeat cycle for a few hours with an average speed of like 2 knots. At least if it's dead calm I don't fool myself and can just kick on the engine. Go to a specialist running store where they put you on a treadmill, analyze your running gait and use that to fit you with a pair of real running shoes that suit how you run. This made a world of difference to me. Proper running shoes aren't cheap, but they are essential if you're serious about running long term. It might also help to see a physiotherapist. They can identify other things that might be adding to the problem and draw up a tailored plan of stretches and exercises to strengthen the relevant muscles and prevent problems in the future. When I started running I used to get terrible ankle pain. I did both of the above things and have had zero issues since. PS. Another thing, start slow. Download one of those couch to 5k apps and follow that. It takes a while for your body to get used to running, and it's really easy to overdo it early on and make it too hard for yourself, and then you end up quitting out of frustration. Explaining that although I commute on a Holly, I'm not, and do not think I'm a badass, nor am I a biker. I'm not a felon. I'm not running from anything existential. I just like riding motorcycles. It's fun, even when the weather sucks. Edit, and Harley makes decent motorcycles that are fairly easy and inexpensive to maintain. I play drums. I hate having to play quietly. I do it out of respect for my wife and neighbors. I already have sound dampening drum heads, special sticks, special cymbals, and an electric drum kit, and I still somehow manage to get complaints about noise. I often wish I lived in the Bolinas with no one nearby for miles. Lap swimming is my zen. I usually try to do 2 to 3 miles a day, and at this point it's all muscle memory. I just zone out for an hour or so, and then I regain consciousness and go eat whatever I want. I love the swim, but I hate the initial jump into the water, especially if I'm at a pool with no deep end. I feel like I have to brave the shock of the water twice, once for my legs, then again for my two half. At least with a deep end I can just jump out and let gravity do the dirty work. I love doing a lot with filmmaking. Definitely moving equipment constantly, it never ends. Move things around to do a scene from multiple angles. Realizing something isn't working and then experiment with lighting/camera movements. It's never ending. Modding for live service games. It's a trap. Be careful what you get yourself into. You make a popular mod for a game that gets regular updates with no end in sight. Now you have to either 1. Babysit the mod until the sun explodes, or 2. Let it become a broken mess and your hard work go to waste. It's a nightmare, as is most software nowadays. The way you have to keep up with platform updates that mess with it, or the expectation of call updates to improve it due to the live service trend. I like being able to finish a project and move on, not babysit it forever. I breed pet rats. I love breeding. I love the science of genetics. I'm passionate about the animals and creating an amazing pet line. I love rats. I absolutely hate dealing with people and selling. It's so stressful and frustrating. People suck. Most people just wake up and decide they want a pet. Do you know anything about this animal or how to care for it? No. How do you even know this would be a good pet for you or your life then? Oh, you will find out in 5 months when you get bored of it and want to rehome it because you don't have time in that busy life you have to clean its cage. Oh, you need a pet right this moment, as if I just have shelves lined with animals available 24/7. I'm sorry it's your kid's birthday tomorrow, but no, that's not how this works. Oh, what, you can't pay $50 for a new pet? I spent that much on dinner last night, but yeah, too much for a well-bred pet. Go buy a $10 one from a pet store and then have the nerve to come ask me for advice when you can't handle it because it bites and it's sick, and oh yeah, you also don't wanna take it to the vet. I have a website with every detail on my adoption process and pet care, but do tell me how you have definitely read my website but ask me questions that are easily found and answered. Yes, please ask me where I'm located, though it's the very first thing you see on my page. No, I won't tell you how far that is from you, because I'm sure you can Google map it just like I can. I spend so much time and energy responding to questions that are found in my website. I get almost non-stop questions and 99% of them won't actually even buy, just tire kickers who waste my time. Mostly people too impatient to wait for babies, because the energy of deciding to get a pet is too much, and they have to get it right now before something else catches their attention. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.